guys, welcome back! This week, something different. Games from the last generation that offered stereoscopic 3D support. And I just got the right tools to try it out. Let's take a look. The stereoscopic 3D hype for the 7th generation of consoles began in 2010, after the release of Avatar from James Cameron, and is no longer considered a key feature for the success of a movie or a video game. In fact, the latest games that offered this feature were released in 2015. The surprise effect on gamers quickly wears off. Even so, there's around 78 games for the PlayStation 3 and 31 for the Xbox 360 that uses this feature. Obviously, that such a feature with similar effect is around since the early days of video gaming, but for this episode, the spotlight is toward solely to the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. Also, and for these tests, I used my good old 42-inch Panasonic Full HD 3D LED TV from 2012 and a pair of Panasonic passive polarized 3D glasses, just like the real D ones that are used in cinemas. So, here's the titles with stereoscopic 3D support that I have in my collection and that I recommend you all to try, if you fancy this kind of stuff, obviously. I'll try to do my best to describe what I see and feel while playing these games in 3D, so and starting with the Xbox 360. Here's Assassin's Creed Revelations. That was the first Assassin's Creed game to use this feature back in 2011. Finished recently the very first Assassin's Creed almost 10 years after its debut, and just started the second entry in the franchise. In Revelations, the setting is way more immersive than before. Characters and scenery just feel alive in such a way that I had never experienced before in previous games from this amazing franchise. And the same applies to Assassin's Creed 3, released a year after Revelations. I just can't wait to finish the second title of the series and start these two with full stereoscopic 3D support. Next up, Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and 2 that have the power to really place us in the boots of a badass Black Ops soldier, completing all those freaking amazing and dangerous assignments behind enemy lines. The stereoscopic 3D, along with its incredibly involving audio environment, will drop you off front and center, and these initial moments from the second entry of the Black Ops series, in where we have to climb these cliffs and fly to a predetermined landing zone using a wingsuit, are simply overwhelming. The first-person shooter is one of the many genres that really suited perfectly for the use of the stereoscopic 3D feature, so the 2012 BFG Edition of Doom 3 is the definitive way to immerse ourselves into the scary scenario of this research facility on Mars, where all hell has simply break loose. If the normal Doom 3 was already scary and frightening, then prepare yourselves for a prescription of an even scarier experience. Sadly, the two first titles of the franchise, bundled with this BFG edition, doesn't offer stereoscopic 3D support. Staying in the FPS genre, Crysis 2 is another title offering a stereoscopic 3D experience in a post-apocalyptic setting. This was a game that I didn't enjoy much back when it was released in March of 2011, but after trying it out using its 3D feature, I'm willing to give it another chance, cause again, I was really immersed in this intense action that Crytek placed at our disposal. Savati Early, co-founder, CEO and president of Crytek, stated back in 2010 that the success of 3D movies like Avatar and the introduction of 3D TVs from the hardware manufacturers tells us that this is the next big movement in entertainment, much like HD was years ago. 3D gives gamers an increased level of immersion, which can enhance an intense experience. That statement is what I really felt while playing Crysis 2, but sadly that 2010 production didn't live to everybody's expectations. Batman Arkham City was another cool experience in stereoscopic 3D. This is the Xbox 360 version that, just like its PS3 twin brother, offers the chance for gamers and fans of the character to be part of this obscure setting of Arkham City, a huge super prison that is composed basically by slums of Gotham. Combat and stealth plays a major role in this second venture into the Arkham series, with a huge dose of intense and frenetic action, combined with Tarzan-like swinging along with superb 3D effects. This is how all Batman games should be like. Never tried Batman Arkham VR, but I'm guessing that it can't even reach the hills of Arkham City with the good old stereoscopic 3D activated.
Plenty wrong with me.
Gears of War 3 was another major achievement on the Xbox 360 back when it was released in September of 2011, and playing it in stereoscopic 3D is freaking amazing. The sense of depth in the scenarios is superbly implemented, and the action can really be intense and with plenty of 3D jump scares. When the first Gears of War came out, it was the video game that people would show to friends simply to brag and for them to experience firsthand exploding HD gaming. Later, Gears of War 3 was what people would be using to show off their brand new 3D displays. It's that good.
I think I just invented a new thing.
Obviously that Nathan Drake would be jealous if Naughty Dog didn't also take advantage of the stereoscopic 3D feature in one of his adventures. So in Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception, we could contemplate Nathan's perfect air in all its 3D glory. Finished this third chapter of the Uncharted series in December of 2016 and played it in 3D from beginning to end, and let me tell you, it was one hell of a ride. My favorite is still Among Thieves, but Drake's Deception, played in 3D, is simply one of a kind. One of my most fondly remembered moments was the arrival to the Lost City, and I just stood there contemplating all its beauty. The scale and depth just petrified me. What a spectacle! An amazing experience, no doubt. A few racing games were also contemplated with stereoscopic 3D support, that even offered the ability for two players to use the 3D functionality simultaneously, enabling a full-screen view for both of them at the same time, rather than the traditional split-screen mode. This technique is called Simul View. Gran Turismo 5 was an example of that, and an amazing experience using the cockpit camera. But I'm still pissed with Polyphony Digital for not having a damage system implemented in their GD franchise. It would be freaking amazing to experience particles in 3D flying all over the screen, and not just the dust being kicked from the rear end of our car while driving off-road. And this leads to another driving game that is way more enjoyable than GT5, Motorstorm Apocalypse. What an amazing experience with stereoscopic 3D enabled! Particles and car parts flying all over the place, water being thrown at players' faces. Motorstorm Apocalypse is a feast to our eyes. One of the most impressive 3D games that I've experienced, cause there's so much stuff happening around us that it's quite hard to be focused on driving fast to avoid all those risky situations. Simply amazing. But a couple other spectacular stereoscopic 3D experiences were offered by Ico and Shadow of the Colossus in the Classics HD collection. Loved the originals on the PS2, but when I tried the HD 3D renditions of both, I was just speechless. I just thought that these two couldn't be more beautiful than they already were. These are perfect examples of how a remastered should be done. They didn't simply stick with upgrading the game's engines to HD format, they've also improved and widely expanded the experience, taking full advantage of the stereoscopic 3D effect, turning Ico and Shadow of the Colossus into a couple of unforgettable adventures once more. But the greatest surprise came from Sonic Generations. I wasn't expecting much from this little game, to be honest, but when I tried it in 3D for the first time, I was completely amazed and blown away to tiny pieces. It's true that frame rate can drop at times, but even so, Sonic Generations was the game where I spent the most time with, and then my kid joined me and we had the time of our lives. What an amazing experience! What an amazing way of playing a Sonic game! Sorry, Sonic and Sonic 2! Sonic Generations in stereoscopic 3D just became my favorite Sonic title! So guys, hope you've enjoyed this experiment that I did, taking advantage of my good old Panasonic 3D TV that was just sitting around in another room, being completely disrespected regarding its full and overwhelming capabilities. While I play Zen Pinball 2 in 3D on my PS4, feel free to browse my channel for more awesome video game related stuff, from the good old days of the ZX Spectrum till the amazing new world of modern gaming. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode.